Hey everybody, happy Thursday. We are live, 7 o'clock. Coming up, I have Courtney from Text for Clefts. By the way, I nailed that this time because when I butchered it and I edited, I got it right, but it was just like a tongue twister last time I was live. I've been practicing it and I went and fixed the actual recorded podcast. I couldn't fix the live when we were live, but I'm so excited to have her. I think, my biggest thing as I age, and I think a lot of you feel this, is you want to keep learning, you want to keep your mind going. So a lot of this podcast is learning things that we don't know about, and that's why I listen to podcasts and read and watch the news. I'm a news junkie, but you want to keep learning. So Courtney actually reached out to me on social media and said, hey, I want to do a podcast on this. And I'm like, this is awesome because I know about this, but I don't know it deeply. So she's going to help us understand a little bit more about cleft palate. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard that, but not just that, animals born with birth defects, that they're not just disposable. So I can't wait to get her on here, but I want to do a little shout out to the sponsors. Thanks. Unmuzzled is presented by the following sponsors. Bark Pouch. Bark Pouch believes there's no greater joy than a delightful time with your dog or dogs, plural. We like a lot of dogs around here. So they make irresistible lickable treats that are easy to use while walking, training, grooming, familying, friending, and even vet visits. Check them out, barkpouch.com. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, Illinois, just a block south of CDH Hospital on the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner, for a healthy, happy pet. Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. With over 12,000 square feet of indoor space and a spacious yard, they are the one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. Thank you, sponsors. I love you guys. I really, really appreciate the sponsorship. All right, Courtney, let's bring you in. I really appreciate you being here and reaching out. I think, some people are nervous to reach out or they don't think people want to know about this, but I have the perfect audience. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I want an opportunity to be able to spread more awareness, and this seems like a perfect place to do that. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So before we start, I just want to say, I think vet techs, I wish they would get paid so much more. It's like teachers and nurses. And so that part of it, because I know that you've been doing this for a long, long time. And, this came out of kind of like a need for this. But tell me when this started, how it started, and why it started. And then we'll get more in depth about, what exactly you do.
Absolutely. So this started back basically in 2019. I worked at a vet clinic that we happened to do a lot of C-sections. We're always checking puppies when they're born for any sort of birth defects that could cause issues with them nursing, problems, latching, things like that. So we're always looking for it. And I was taught through my years of doing C-sections and checking puppies that if they were born with something like a cleft palate, that we recommended euthanasia to their people. So in 2019, I happened to be strolling on Facebook looking at dog content because what else am I going to do? And I came across a Facebook page that was called For the Love of Ruby. And it was a pit bull that was born with a full cleft palate and bilateral cleft lips. And I went, whoa, wait a second. This dog's alive and it's thriving. What did we do for that dog to get to that point? So obviously I clicked on it, started following it, saw that that she was tube fed, all these things to keep her alive, and that she was an actual happy, thriving dog with just a little bit of work well, not a little bit, but a whole lot of work in the beginning, but completely worth it because she's living this amazing life. She's still alive today. Just doing great things. She still fosters other dogs. And my mind was blown. I went, okay, wait a second. We need to stop telling people to euthanize these puppies and actually educate that there are other options outside of euthanasia. So at that vet clinic I worked for, I talked to one of our doctors and she's like, yeah, I am totally game. If you want to try and teach this to people, you obviously know how to tube feed because we've taught people to tube feed. So why can't you teach people how to tube feed cleft puppies? So we ended up I got called in for a C-section on Christmas Eve of 2019, and it happened to be with a French bulldog, and she happened to have one puppy that was born with a cleft palate and a cleft lip. So it was my opportunity to shine. I talked to the breeder. I said, this is what is, I don't want to say wrong, but this is what is affecting the puppy. But let me tell you, this puppy has a chance. So with tube feeding around the clock care, we can help save this puppy. Well, the breeder was obviously very overwhelmed. It's a lot to learn about that. And then it's a lot to take care of a mom, dog, and puppies, and then top it off with a puppy that can't even be with the mom around the clock because it's not allowed to nurse. Otherwise, it could aspirate. So I offered to teach her to tube feed. She declined, but she did sign the puppy over to the vet clinic for us to take care of it. So that's how it all started. And that was my first save that I did, and he thrived. He actually lives with my aunt, and he does amazing. So he's going to be 4 this year, which is incredible. So that's where it all started.
I love that. And I just love that you saw something that caught your eye on Facebook and then looked at it and said, why are we euthanizing these animals because of this small thing? So before we get too deep into this, I want you to explain, because even me, like, I know what it is, but like, why are you tube feeding? Like there's obvious reasons, and then there's not so obvious reasons. But can you just explain, like, medically what is going on with an animal with a cleft palate?
Absolutely. So, just like how human babies are born with clefts as well, there are plenty of humans that are born with cleft palates, cleft lips. We usually see those facial differences for children. So, there's Smile Train, corporations like that that help children. So, with dogs, it's the same sort of thing. We call it in veterinary medicine a midline defect. So, basically, what's happened is when that puppy was in the womb, when it was coming together, it didn't quite come together all the way. So the division of that puppy was open. So you see it in the roof of their mouth, like this little cute lab puppy there. And then this is another lab puppy as well with the cleft palate. So it's called a hard and soft palate because it goes from, if you're looking at this picture, the tip of her nose inside of her mouth all the way down to the back of her throat. So that is a hard and soft cleft palate. So that opening actually goes up into their sinus cavity, and then it opens the back of their throat. So if that puppy was to latch onto mom and try to nurse, as the milk goes into their mouth, it goes up into that hole and in their sinus cavity, and then goes, instead of down their throat, into their airways, which then causes them to aspirate and get aspiration pneumonia. So this is why we tube feed. This is another great example. This is actually my foster fail. This is Roger, our Dalmatian, and that's his hard palate cleft. So he's laying on his back in this picture. This is when we neutered him. So you can see that hole goes into his sinus cavity, and then it kind of comes together, and then further in the back, it actually splits back open again. But all it takes is some tube feeding and a whole lot of dedication. This is Cody. This is one of my little other French bulldogs. He's over a year old now. That's his hard palate. He also has an open soft palate as well.
Yeah, and interesting. I know that we were talking before this that sometimes you don't even see it. We
Nope.
saw in Ruby, you can really see it, obviously.
Yeah.
But in these Dalmatians, you don't even notice it. So I would
No.
assume, like, if you are a breeder, you probably are checking this. I think the breeder thing is like what's interesting to me too, because I noticed on your website too, you've said we have breeders now telling other breeders that we are here for a resource.
Yes.
Because again,
Yes.
if it's a breeder, what do they care? Let's separate responsible breeders and irresponsible breeders, because I think that's important
Yes.
too.
Yes, absolutely. And that's obviously breeding has become kind of a hot topic word. A lot of people got into breeding during the pandemic. It was something fun. Tons of people wanted dogs. What's better to do than breed our dogs and have puppies, and we sell them, make a little income. Unfortunately, especially with the French bulldog craze, that's become a huge, huge problem with those dogs being what we call the backyard breeder dogs. And unfortunately, those breeds need a whole lot more care than, people thinking of their Labrador that has puppies easily and not a lot of problems. These French bulldogs are usually C-sections. They're round the clock care with their babies. So it's not a breed to just go in willy-nilly. But yes, there's definitely a difference between people that are ethically breeding. That's been a new term that I've seen. Ethically breeding, breeding with a purpose, breeding with the knowledge that they have people to actually take these dogs, and just breeding because you're trying to make a buck. So we're here to obviously we're here to educate any breeder that's going to reach out to us because we want what's best for the puppy. But we are full on educating about, hey, you had a cleft palate. Yes, there, and this is another thing I can go into more deeply. There's no actual concrete evidence that it's congenital, but really think about it before you breed this match of dogs again, because if you've had a cleft palate, the likelihood of you having another one is there. So you need to rethink your breeding program. So we're there to tell them about that. We're also there to teach them to tube feed, because tube feeding is vital to know when you're a breeder. You never know if a puppy's going to crash. You never know if the puppy will not have a suckle. And if you can just tube feed a puppy, you can pull them out of a whole lot of really serious situations and get that nutrition into them if you know how to tube feed. So that's kind of where I come from. Is I get to educate you about cleft palates. I get to teach you to tube feed, and also teach you that you need to be looking over these puppies when they are born. Just because they're born doesn't mean there's not other things that are going on. Look in those mouths, check their feet, make sure they have paws. Look under the tail, make sure there's genitals. There are puppies born without genitalia. There's puppies born without rectums. Like, you need to check that immediately, because if you can find that out when they are born, there's resources to help you. There's, you can get to your vet quickly before that puppy starts to pass away because something is going on that you didn't catch ahead of time.
Yeah, and I think we both know, working in like rescue and such, like there's people that want to take these dogs, but I assume that there's also some breeders that are like, that aren't reaching out to you for resources, that are
Oh,
just, the dog is aspirating and dying, and they might not
yeah.
even know why. But how do you, I guess, your website is awesome, because I even clicked like the
Oh, thank you.
resources. Yeah, because you can see how to feed tube and a tube feed, and it's not difficult, but you definitely need a special person to do it, and a devoted person, like you said, and a patient person. But
Yes.
what do you think is like your main, like, if you can, I know it's hard sometimes to look ahead, but like what is your main goal, like looking ahead? Like, is it to get to these breeders and to get more people onto your team that can help these dogs, whether it's coaching people, talking to breeders, talking, I know you had said about rescues too, like talking to rescues and how they can take these dogs and maybe lift some of that financial burden of what it takes to raise one of these.
Right. Our big picture with this, because I you can only help so many puppies at one time. And unfortunately, there's so many rescues that are ending up with 20, 30 puppies that they're trying to tube feed. And that's a lot of little puppies to take care of. So I what we really want to do is have the breeders be accountable for these puppies, to learn how to take care of them. I feel like the breeders that can, and obviously there are always those situations like they work full time, they can't take the puppy to work. It is a full time gig. It's not, you stuff the puppy away for 8 hours and come back to it and feed it. You have to have those capabilities to take them with you to feed them. But the breeders that can do it and learn to do it, the bond they have with those puppies is something completely different than what they usually have, because they're used to mom doing all the work, and they're having to go in there and they're having to actually handle this puppy, care for this puppy, be really self-conscious about what they're doing with this puppy, and up all night with them. And it's a much different bond they have with them. But I think our big goal with Text for Clefts is that we really want to start from the veterinary professional side of it. That's where I see us being able to represent these clinics to really educate our profession. Because unfortunately, as I talk to people, I send them to vet clinics because I've been doing this a long time, and you we're always told, you need to have your veterinarian tell you what to do, give you the best treatment options. And I cannot tell you how many times I tell people to see their vet and they call me and tell me that their vet told them to euthanize them. And there is nothing more aggravating to me than when I'm telling them to reach out for medical advice from a medical professional, stay off the internet. I'm just an RVT, I'm not a doctor. Like, you need to talk to a veterinarian, and they tell them to euthanize. So that's my big passion is I'm really, we are trying to get into the field, into our professional workplaces and educate them on teaching people that there are other options. Are there puppies that might have to be euthanized because say they're missing the whole roof of their mouth? Absolutely. There are always exceptions to that. But I really would love for veterinarians to be able to say, hey, you know what? We can teach you how to tube feed this puppy, or, if you want to reach out to a rescue, here's resources. Like, we can help you besides just saying we're euthanizing your puppy. So that's where I really want to focus our energy on, because I feel like there's not a lot of that. There's a lot of new rescues coming up to help these puppies, which is amazing, but there's not a whole lot of technicians or doctors that are pushing from the inside out and making it accessible, offering those tubes, offering to teach, all of those things that are so vital and why we seek our veterinarian. I really want the veterinarians to be the good guy, not the bad guy, because we're getting a really bad reputation every time we tell somebody to euthanize their puppy. Then they reach out to a rescue, and then the rescue goes on a live stream on Instagram and talks how horrible the vet clinic is. So I really want our profession to not get such a bad reputation with this.
Yeah, and I like how you said you're just an RVT. I'm like, you are awesome. That's how we started this
Thank
podcast. but
you.
I totally do see that, because I think, I mean, I've never heard of a resource like this for this kind of animal. I mean, and it's not just dogs. We should note that too.
Yes.
So, I do think if you have a medical professional saying to you, hey, you don't have to euthanize this animal, I have this amazing resource here, you that can help with this, and like, we have your back too in this. Like,
Right.
that's just amazing. And then they don't that person who adopted the animal or bought the animal, whatever, doesn't feel like they're on an island. You don't have a vet
Exactly.
saying, oh, you just wasted $950 because the breeder didn't look in the dog's mouth. I mean, you'd assume
Right.
by the time that animal got adopted, you would hopefully, I mean, you would probably know, right? There was a cleft there.
You should know. And in the breeder, and so many times, usually honestly, it starts with the breeder. That's the first person we usually have contact with, is that they saw milk coming out of the nose, and then they talk to a friend of a friend of a friend. They're like, oh, open up the mouth because it's probably a cleft. Like, that's where it starts. But we do a lot of C-sections in this profession on all different breeds. And so many of us are missing that as well in our profession. So then we're sending these puppies home. We, as a medical team, did not check those puppies. And now those puppies are back home. The people assume that the puppies are all normal because the vets all checked them out, and they weren't. So now we're going 5-6 days when all of a sudden they're like, why is this puppy skinny? Why does it look dehydrated? And then they're reaching rescue because they finally open the mouth and the puppy's half dead, and now they're trying to get help. And that's a lot. I want it, these puppies do so much better if it's caught the second they're born. I mean, it's a world of difference in how we can be able to help.
Wow. And I mean, just like you being on here, I feel like somebody might see this and say, like, oh, like, we should look for this, because they're probably not, they're
Yeah,
worried about so many other things, right?
they
When
are. Whelping puppies is stressful. I mean, I love doing it. I enjoy its new life. It's the miracle of birth. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a human, if it's a dog, if it's a cow. I mean, it's amazing that this body makes little tiny babies and they come out and everything's magic. I mean, it's just incredible. So I love it. I love that part of it. So it's a lot of stress. You're worrying, is the puppy breathing? Like, how does it look? Is mom okay? So it's a lot. But if you make it part of your normal routine, like when a puppy is born, you're wiping it, you're cleaning it. Just look. It takes 2 seconds. 2 seconds to open that mouth and take a peek. And I brought a puppy with me so I could show you live on how to just open that mouth and take a peek. I mean, they screech, they make a bunch of noise, but hey, if they're screeching, that means their lungs are open and they're screeching. So that's not a bad thing. But checking those puppies and making it part of your routine as they're born and being able to get help that quickly and have the tubes on hand, have your formula on hand, be ready for an emergency. Because just because your dog has had puppies, God, I hope not a lot, but I'm being realistic. People breed a lot, but if this is your dog's second, third litter, it doesn't mean that it can't happen and that there's not an accident or there's not something that you need to help a puppy. So being prepared, I cannot tell people enough. And honestly, there's a lot of rescues taking pregnant dogs. And if you're going to take a pregnant dog in, this is part of your routine too. It's not just breeders. It's any of us that are taking these animals in and being responsible for them. Being responsible is knowing how to check for things and being on top of it. So making it part of your routine, it's that easy. It really does not take much to be able to check for a cleft and get some help.
Yeah, and the earlier the better, like you've been saying, which I think
Yeah.
is really the important part. So for you, when I first started my 501c3, I, I say now, like I don't know if I would have done it if I could go back. And you're still you're still kind of like new to this, but what has been, I mean, besides the obvious, what has been kind of like your biggest challenge? Is it reaching the right people? Are there other things like trying to onboard people to help you? Because I imagine, once this starts to grow even more, you're going to have just an inundation of people asking you questions and asking for help.
Yeah. And I would love that. Love that. I think it's a lot of times it's a deal breaker because when I go to help somebody with a puppy, I usually come in like, here, I'm going to show you how to tube feed. It's the reality of that you have to get up every 2 hours to feed this puppy. That is a deal breaker for a lot of people. They're like, but I like to sleep. I'm like, well, so do I. But if you can get up every 2 hours, it's only for a couple weeks. And then, as they get bigger, it's not necessarily every 2 hours. You could take that 4 hour break at night and get some sleep. But yes, it's a lot of dedication in the beginning. And I hope, you know, I would love for more people to reach out. I would love more people to learn how to tube feed. It's not scary. It's easy to learn. It doesn't have to just be done by a veterinarian. It's something so simple to learn. It's not that hard to stick it in the right place. I think that's another huge concern. Like, I'm going to hurt the puppy when I tube feed it. You're not going to hurt the puppy. It's a soft tube. I have a technique that works for most of my puppies where they're suckling and I'm putting that tube down. So they're just swallowing it down. All of a sudden, their tummies are full and they're happy as a clam. So it's not a scary thing once you learn to do it. Is it weird when people see you putting a tube in a puppy? They'll ask questions. Like if you're, I take my puppies all over the place because you have to. So I'm tube feeding, out in my car. And if somebody's looking in, I'm always like, oh, hi, like I'm just tube feeding my puppy. So, but they ask questions and then I'm educating. So it goes full circle. And I just want more people that want to do this to do it. There are so many rescues that are drowning in puppies. I mean, we will rescue. We're really focusing on education, but obviously we get puppies in because that's just what happens when you're doing this. But they're just in California, the two people that take a lot of puppies in this state, they're drowning in puppies. And if we could get more people to learn and help, not just us, I mean, we're here to resource for helping all rescues. I will tell somebody, hey, there's a rescue that's, this location that's close to you. Reach out, learn to foster for them, because if you can foster for other rescues, that goes full circle. It doesn't have to be for us. I'd rather have you foster for somebody that's even closer to you, that already is established, that has everything that they can give you. It's finding those resources. And if you want to do it, there are plenty of people that could use that help.
Yeah, and so much better to take the chance and you learn than the dog
Hmm.
be euthanized. So that's interesting.
Correct.
So you guys also can take in animals, or do you help medically and then it's under another rescues umbrella?
We do take them in. So we have it under our 501c3. We're focused on education, but we do have a surrender clause built into us so that we can rescue as well. We wanted to make our main focus being education though, because there are a lot of rescues that are taking these puppies. So I wanted that focus to be education and to really come from the veterinary professional side of it. But we take surrenders. I mean, I have the ones that I've taken in. I have my friend that's on my board. She's also a foster on the East Coast. She takes puppies in over there. So, but we'll also help other rescues. I've fostered for road dogs. I've fostered for NorCal Bulldog Rescue. I mean, if they want to keep it under their organization, I understand that. And I'm happy. I'm not going to say, well, it has to be under me for me to tube feed it. I mean, if you're more comfortable with it in your organization, I'm here to help. I have a skill. I have equipment. I would feel silly saying no to taking a puppy that needs help just because I want it under my organization. So we foster for lots of other people, especially before this was a nonprofit. That was an easy way to help out because we weren't getting we were educating, but not a lot of people were signing puppies over. So we had plenty of rescues reaching out to us like, hey, there's a puppy close to you, because the closer you are and the quicker you can get to that puppy too is crucial. So if they're within, 3 to 4 hours of us, but they're 8 hours away from the other rescue, of course we'll go pick it up and we'll get that started. And, sometimes when they're bigger, they go ahead and transfer to another foster, which is great too. It's, if we work together, we can make a world of difference because working together, especially in rescue, I mean, I know what you do with your nonprofit takes a lot of teamwork too. So if we have more working together, that makes a big, big difference.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, so how many puppies you got there right now?
Well, I have one tiny puppy. So she'll be 2 weeks old on Saturday. Her name is Waffles. And she's the cutest. So I have her with me up here so she can make a camera appearance because she's really cute. And then I have Blossom, who's my almost 6-month-old Australian Labradoodle. That's her. So she's got a cleft lip that you can see in that picture. She also has a soft palate cleft, and then she's blind. So as she opened her eyes, we noticed that one eye never developed. And then we took her to the eye doctor at 4 weeks, and he said, what you're calling her good eye isn't so good either. I'm like, oh no. Okay. So then we ended up monitoring that vision in her eye. And by the time she was 12 weeks old, the eye was non-functional as well. She basically doesn't have an optic nerve in that eye. So does she care? Absolutely not. She is a wild child. Like she is all doodle, man. She is all over my house running amok, and she is awesome. So she's another example of, you never know what you sign up for sometimes when you take these puppies too. So you have to be very prepared that just because it's her breeder thought it was just a cleft lip. And then of course I open her mouth. I'm like, she has a soft palate cleft too. So a little more. And then it's like, oh, now she doesn't have an eye. Oh, now she's blind. So you do have to be prepped that sometimes there's so much more. But that doesn't mean she doesn't have quality of life. I almost hate the term quality of life. It's so subjective. And for what I find quality of life is definitely not what somebody else sees as quality of life. And maybe because I'm in the profession and see so many clients that do different things for different pets, and some have one level that they feel is the right thing and another has another level. We're all different in what we feel is quality of life. So some people might think because she can't see that that's not quality of life. And I'm here to tell you that dog, she runs around like she can see. You would assume she could see. So she doesn't care. She doesn't care. So
you said she has an interested adopter, but if that doesn't work out, she will be. And by the way, there are so many amazing humans in this world that would love to have a dog like that. And a lot of them I'm friends with. They like really special dogs. But now that you say that just about the quality of life, it kind of comes back to the beginning where you said, normally you would say euthanize this dog. And it's just wonderful, how far you've come and how you're changing others' lives for the better and teaching people. So thank you. But we definitely want to see this 2-week-old puppy. So I'm going to give.
Yes. Okay. Let me grab her.
Drum roll.
I know, drum roll. And she's of course sleeping, so she's gonna be all angry that she's awake.
Oh my god.
Let's move you that way. There you go. There you go. So this is Waffles. So she has what we call bilateral cleft lips. So her she's gonna yawn. Darn. I was trying to see if she was yawning in the camera, because then you could really see her cleft. Let me see. Sometimes if I no, but she has a full cleft palate too. So she's darling. So she's one that I'm tube feeding. She just opened her eyes, so the world is new and bright. And oh, there you go. There's her cleft.
Yep.
Good job,
Wow.
Waffles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but she's amazing. She is super cute. I mean, they're all cute, but she's a doll. She's been really easy. She's like, I want to go back to sleep, mom. So, yeah, she's really cute. So this is my late night party animal for right now. So,
Yeah. So I mean, so your sleep schedule is definitely unique. You just, you do what
yeah.
you need to. She seriously is so cute. Like I can't take it. But so how
Yeah.
many of your own animals do you have?
No, do I have to answer that? No, I'm kidding. Well, so I mean, obviously, I've been worse than what I was. And so this is what she does. So she's hungry. So she's like, wait, she woke me up. So she's gonna. This is what we do. I didn't bring the tube up here, of course, but so she suckles my finger. I've tried pacifiers. Everybody, if you're watching this and you do cleft puppies and you have a pacifier that they love, send it my way because I've tried like 10 different brands and I am not good at getting them to take a pacifier. So my finger is the pacifier. Um, but yeah, my sleep schedule is not that great, but it's worth it when you see them thrive. So as far as my personal animals, I have how many dogs at my house right now? So I obviously have her. I have Blossom, my other foster. We have a Fospus. So Brick is my Fospus Frenchie. We determined with all of us on the board that he's not adoptable because he was born with hydrocephalus and he has what's called a bifid nose where his nose is split. Um, but this is my Frenchie tangent. He was probably very poorly bred to have everything that happened to him anyways, and he cannot breathe well. So we spent a lot of money on doing surgery to open his airways, and unfortunately, that surgery failed after about a month. So his breathing is horrible. The only other thing we could technically do is a tracheotomy so that he can breathe better. So we've just determined he's on hospice care. He's a super happy guy. He runs and plays, but he can't get hot. He can't go for walks. That's a tough one. He's a hard one because I got him when he was 4 weeks old and I thought, he's going to have a great life with somebody. And then we spent all this time trying to fix what he's bred to look like, and you unfortunately can't fix a brachiocephalic dog and make his nose longer and his airway bigger, and he's a little bit of a disaster, but he's a happy guy for now. So he's our Fospus. And then we have the Dalmatian that was our first foster fail. We have an Aussie and a Pomeranian, and our Aussie and Pomeranian are dogs we've had for a while. I've got 3 cats, 2 ponies, and a rabbit.
I love it.
Oh, and chickens. I have chickens. I'm a chicken mom too. So
I feel like you
and
need
I
like a
do love
pig.
my chickens.
You need like a
Oh
pig
my
or
God.
something just
I
to
know.
top it off.
Right? That would be, yeah. Don't worry, I've tried.
I love it. I love it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Which they get cleft palates too. So, hit me
I
up
mean,
if you get a cleft palate piglet. And
that's the thing. Like people have to realize it's not just dogs. I mean, it's
no.
yeah, any animal. So you got
Yeah. I should have sent you the link. There's Jude, who is a cow. He's a steer that has a cleft, and he has a big cleft lip and a cleft palate. And they did all sorts of crazy medical care and tubing. I mean, bovine are a different level, but he's got I can't remember the sanctuary off the top of my head, but his name is Jude, and he is a cow with a cleft lip and palate, and he's miraculous. So it definitely can happen to any animal. Farm animals don't usually get the care like the puppies and kittens need. Like it's not as knowledgeable in that, so it definitely takes a special sanctuary to take those in. But if farmers reach out when they have something like that happen, there are people that will take those as well. So
yeah, good to know. I mean, that's so important. It's really important to know that they're not disposable. I mean, they don't have to be euthanized. It's really amazing work you're doing, Courtney. I'm so glad that you reached out to me. So thank you. And then please tell people what you need the most. I mean, I assume monetary donations are number one. Do you have a wish list or anything like that?
We do. We have an Amazon wish list. We have one because we're on both coasts. So we have one for the West Coast and one for the East Coast because we take puppies on both sides. The the biggest thing is we are working on making tube kits accessible to everybody, because that's been another challenge, is that they go to the vet and they don't have a tube kit. So we are working on making tube kits available at particular clinics. So we're putting that together. So we have tubes on our wish list and special aspirators. So we're really looking for people to donate those to us so we can help build our kits, so we can have those more easily accessible for people. You know, they have an emergency, they found the puppy has a cleft, they desperately need a tube to feed it, and to have that access for care is what we're working on. So tubes, we would love to have tubes donated, syringes donated. Anything off our Amazon list, we would greatly appreciate, because it helps. Everything helps.
Yeah, amazing. And they are 501c3, so your donations would be tax deductible. Courtney,
Yes.
Thank you. I learned so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes.
This might be our longest podcast of the year, because I'm like, let's keep going. This is great stuff.
We can do a part 2.
Yeah, I mean, Waffles, it was so nice to meet you. I feel like I was distracted the whole time you were talking, and Waffles was I can't, like, it's
She's
just
super cute.
so cute. It's so cute.
She is darling. And once again, an example, her breeder knew to contact me right away. So within hours, this puppy came to me, and what a difference. I mean, just strong right from the get-go. We were able to start tube feeding. You know, we give a whole bunch of medications and stuff too to help them thrive. And look at her. I mean, she's perfect.
I love her. I love her. I'll be following. I'm going to go and like all your pages. Everybody, please follow them and support if you can. Sometimes I know it's hard to look at these animals, but it's so important to save them. And I really, really appreciate all the work that you're doing. I really hope that everybody supports you. Even if you can't donate, please share their content, because it's great stuff.
Tell your vet clinic. Please just tell your vet clinic we're here. I'm happy to educate. Have your vet call me. I mean, send me an email. Anything to help from my profession. I am here to help for sure.
Yeah, and great work that you're doing as a vet tech. I know how hard that is. Again, you guys should be paid millions of dollars. Just so much great stuff. Thank you. Have a great night. I really appreciate it.
You too. All right, Thank you, Sarah, so much. Okay,
yeah,
bye.
Of course. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. Whoops, sorry, you're still here.
Oh,
I'm about to remove.
I'll keep sharing the puppy.
Thank you so much, Courtney. You've been amazing. Guys, check them out, textforclefts.com. Again, you know, these are things I would not even know to podcast about. So I really, really appreciate Courtney reaching out. So incredibly important. The more that we know about these things, the more we can spread the word, which is really what she just mentioned. Is if you see a dog like this, or a cat, or anything, or, you know, you overhear a conversation at the vet, Auntie B. I mean, Waffles was great. It's great for the show. But just so much knowledge. I really appreciate it. A little rollout to my supporting sponsors right now. We can't do this podcast without our following supporting sponsors. Twin Tails Market and Barkery is a local family-owned business that has been serving the community for close to 7 years. Located in Palos Park, Twin Tails has everything you need to give your dogs and cats healthy and natural foods, treats, chews, toys, and much, much more. You can find them at twintailsmarket.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Twin Tails Market. The Canine PT specializes in helping senior dogs improve their independence with their daily routine as they age, heal, or recover post-surgery through exercise, massage, laser, and acupuncture, so they can live their golden years without the need for pain medication. Brilliant work you're doing, Canine PT. Anything is Possible is Chicago's premier dog training company. I have sent so many people to Anything is Possible. They offer group classes for every stage of your dog's life and have a talented team of behavior specialists to work through any issues that need modification using positive reinforcement. Liz Starks at Guaranteed Rate. Check with Liz for the absolute best mortgage options. She helps when others can't and even calls it rescue loans. Buyers, sellers, or investors, give Liz a call. She can lend in all 50 states. NMLS number 224526. Kimberly King Photography. Kimberly is a professional photographer from Chicago who loves animals as much as you do. That's a lot. Her pet portraiture celebrates pure love, connection, and the beauty of life with our furry loved ones by our side. Canine Therapy Corps. Give back and volunteer with your dog at Canine Therapy Corps. Volunteer teams empower and motivate individuals through goal-directed, animal-assisted therapy services free of charge across Chicagoland. Visit caninetherapycorps.org for more information. I think I'm going to make my little doggy icon up there with like a cleft palate for next time. I think that'd be awesome. Just to show, it's cute. Cute little bulldog with a cleft palate can be saved. Next week, guys, a lot of you that follow social media know of True and Faithful Pet Rescue Mission. They're doing incredible work. And of course, a lot of Chihuahuas. So you know that I had to have them on. But September 7th, live, 7 p.m. Central. Thank you again to the sponsors. Thank you again to Courtney. Reminder, if you missed any of the episodes, these guests that we've had in the first 7 weeks here have been extraordinary. So please go download, go stream, go listen, go watch the live video. The streams and the downloads and the plays have been incredible. And I really, really am thankful. If you have an idea for a guest, reach out to me, sarahlauk@gmail.com, or on social media, just send me a message. I read all of them. I always reply, as Courtney knows. She knows. But thank you guys so much for listening. It really does mean a lot to me. And I will see you next week.